Leave me, I'm nothing to you now. Clara Hensley's voice cracks as she collapses in the dust, abandoned by her own people under the scorching sun of the Great Plains. In 1870, one woman faced death alone, her shadow fading into the endless prairie. But then a Lakota warrior appeared, his eyes steady, his hand outstretched. Why would he save a stranger? And could a woman from another world find a home among the Lakota, or would her past tear it all apart? Stick with us to uncover Clara's incredible journey. Imagine a world where survival hangs by a thread, where every step forward could be your last. It's 1870, and the Great Plains stretch out like an endless sea of dust and grass. For Clara Hensley, a 48-year-old widow, this land is both a promise and a curse. She's been traveling with a wagon train, a group of settlers chasing dreams of a better life out west. But dreams have a way of turning into nightmares, and for Clara, that nightmare is about to begin. Clara sits by a dying campfire, her hands trembling as she clutches a worn blanket. Her face, lined with years of hardship, tells a story of loss. She was once a seamstress, her fingers nimble with needle and thread, stitching together clothes and hopes for her family. But her husband died 2 years ago, taken by a fever that swept through their small settlement. Her only son followed lost to the same cruel winter. Now, Clara is alone, a shadow of the woman she used to be, clinging to the wagon train like a lifeline. But even that lifeline is about to snap. The settlers gather near the wagons, their voices low and tense. Supplies are running out. The winter was brutal, stripping them of food, horses, and patience. Every mouth to feed is a burden, and Clara, with her weary steps and quiet grief, has become a weight they can no longer carry. She overhears the murmurs, the sharp words cutting through the cold morning air. They don't say her name, but they don't need to. She knows what's coming. Jacob Morrow, the leader of the wagon train, stands tall among the group. His face is weathered, his eyes hard, like the flint he uses to spark a fire. Jacob isn't a cruel man, not in the way of outlaws or bandits. He's practical, a man who measures life in bushels of grain and miles traveled. To him, survival means making tough choices, and Clara is one of those choices. He speaks to the others, his voice steady but heavy. We can't keep carrying those who slow us down. We've got families to feed, children to protect. She's too weak to keep up. A few settlers shift uncomfortably. A young woman, barely 20, glances toward Clara's lonely figure by the fire. She's one of us, she says softly, but her words are drowned out by the others. Jacob shakes his head. She can't walk fast enough. She can't work hard enough. We've given her all we can. The group falls silent, their decision made in the quiet spaces between words. Clara isn't one of them anymore. Clara listens from a distance, her heart sinking with every word. She's always known her place in the group was fragile. When her husband was alive, he was the one they respected, the one who could fix a wagon wheel or hunt for game. Without him, Clara is just another pair of hands, and those hands aren't strong enough anymore. She's stitched their clothes, cooked their meals, but it's not enough. Not in a world where survival demands more than kindness. She rises slowly, her joints aching from the cold. The settlers avoid her eyes as she approaches. There's no need for a confrontation, no need for harsh words. Clara understands. She's seen this before in other wagon trains, other desperate times. The weak are left behind, and she's become the weak. I'll go, she says, her voice steady, despite the tremor in her chest. I won't slow you down. Jacob nods, his face unreadable. He hands her a single canteen half filled with water and a tattered blanket. There's a river to the south, he says, maybe a day's walk. You might find help there. It's not a promise, just a possibility, and they both know it. The nearest town is weeks away, and Clara has no horse, no food, no strength to make the journey. But she takes the canteen and blanket, clutching them like they're all that's left of her world. The settlers pack up quickly, their movements sharp and purposeful. Wagons creak, horses snort, and children cling to their mothers' skirts. Clara stands apart, watching as the life she's known for months prepares to roll away. She searches their faces for a flicker of regret, a sign that someone might turn back, but no one does. The young woman who spoke up earlier glances at her eyes filled with pity, but she says nothing. Pity isn't enough to change their minds. As the first wagon lurches forward, Clara feels a hollow ache in her chest. The dust rises, swirling around her like a shroud. One by one, the wagons disappear over the horizon, their wheels leaving faint tracks in the dirt. Clara stands frozen, the canteen heavy in her hand. "I am nothing to them now." She whispers the words bitter on her tongue. The silence that follows is deafening, broken only by the whistle of the wind across the plains. She's alone now, truly alone, in a land that doesn't care if she lives or dies. The great plains stretch out before her, vast and unforgiving. The sun climbs higher, its heat pressing against her skin. Clara knows she should move, find shelter, search for the river Jacob mentioned. But for a long moment she can't. Her legs feel rooted to the ground, her heart weighed down by the realization that she's been cast aside like a broken tool. Finally, she forces herself to take a step, then another. She heads south toward the rumored river, though she has no map, no certainty it even exists. The canteen sloshes at her side, a reminder of how little time she has. Each step is a battle, her boots sinking into the dry earth, her breath coming in shallow gasps. She's never been strong, not in the way the frontier demands. Her husband used to call her delicate, a woman made for quiet rooms and soft fabrics. But there's no room for delicacy here, only survival. The hours pass and the sun grows merciless. Clara's throat burns, her lips cracking as she rations the water. She tries to focus on the horizon, on the faint hope of water, but her vision blurs. The plains seem to mock her, their emptiness, stretching on forever. She stumbles once, catching herself on her hands. The second time, she isn't so lucky. She falls hard, the blanket slipping from her grasp, the canteen rolling away. Dust clings to her face, mixing with the tears she didn't realize she was crying. This is it, she thinks, lying there in the dirt. This is where it ends. She closes her eyes, the world fading to a dull hum. Her thoughts drift to her husband, her son. The life she lost long before the settlers left her behind. She's ready to let go, to surrender to the heat and the silence. But the plains have other plans. A faint sound reaches her, the rhythmic thud of hooves against the earth. Clara forces her eyes open, squinting against the glare. A shadow moves on the horizon, growing sharper as it approaches. A horse, a rider, a man. His silhouette is strong, his presence commanding the vastness around him. Clara's heart races, a flicker of fear cutting through her exhaustion. Is this salvation or something worse? The rider draws closer, his horse moving with the grace of the wind. He's young, no older than 30, with long dark hair and eyes that seem to see through her. His clothes are unfamiliar, beaded and fringed, his face marked by the quiet strength of someone who belongs to this land. Clara tries to speak, to beg for help, but her voice is a rasp. The man dismounts, his movements swift but careful. He kneels beside her, his gaze steady, assessing. For a moment neither speaks. Clara waits for a blade, a threat, the stories she's heard about the dangers of the plains, but the man only reaches for her canteen, shaking it to check its weight. Then he looks at her, his expression unreadable. "You're not done yet," he says, his voice low and accented. Before she can respond, he lifts her effortlessly, placing her on his horse. The world sways as he swings up behind her, urging the horse forward. Clara's mind spins, caught between fear and hope. She doesn't know, this man doesn't know where he's taking her. But as the plains blur past, she feels a strange certainty. She was left to die, but something or someone has chosen to keep her alive. Who is this warrior, and what does he want with her? The answers lie ahead in a world she never imagined. A world where survival means more than just staying alive. As we follow Clara's journey, we'll see a woman stripped of everything she knew, standing on the edge of a new life. The settlers who abandoned her thought she was weak, but they didn't know the strength hiding in her heart. Out here on the Great Plains, Clara Hensley is about to discover who she really is. And it all begins with a single choice. A choice made not by her, but by the man who refused to let her die. The sun beats down on the Great Plains, a relentless force that spares no one. Clara Hensley lies in the dust, her breath shallow, her body heavy with surrender. She's ready to let go, to fade into the earth like so many before her. But the plains are alive with whispers, and today they carry the sound of hooves. A shadow falls over Clara, sharp and sudden, pulling her back from the edge of darkness. She blinks, her vision blurry, and sees him, a Lakota warrior, his presence as steady as the land itself. His name is Swift Hawk, and in this moment he becomes the difference between life and death. Swift Hawk, a warrior of the Oglala Lakota band, is no stranger to the harshness of the plains. At 30 years old, he carries the wisdom of someone who has seen both beauty and loss. His dark eyes hold stories of battles fought, hunts won, and nights spent under a sky full of stars. He believes the spirits guide his path, speaking through the wind, the rivers, the beating hearts of the buffalo. Today, those spirits have led him to Clara. He kneels beside her, his hand steady as he checks her canteen, finding it nearly empty. She's a stranger, a settler, someone from a world that often brings harm to his people. Yet Swift Hawk doesn't hesitate. The Lakota principle of Wochekiye. Compassion for all living things runs deep in his blood. To leave her here would be to turn against the balance of life itself. Clara tries to speak, her voice a faint rasp. "Please," she whispers, though she's not sure what she's asking for. Swift Hawk's gaze meets hers, calm and unreadable. Without a word, he lifts her onto his horse, her frail body light in his arms. The world sways as he mounts behind her, his strength a quiet anchor. The horse moves forward, its hooves pounding a steady rhythm against the earth. Clara's head lolls against his chest, her thoughts a jumble of fear and gratitude. She doesn't know where she's going, doesn't know if she's being saved or claimed. But for now, she's alive, and that's enough. The journey to the Lakota camp feels like a dream to Clara, a blur of golden grass and endless sky. The wind carries the scent of sage and earth, stirring something deep within her. She's too weak to sit upright, but Swift Hawk's arm keeps her steady, his silence a kind of reassurance. As they crest a low hill, the camp comes into view, a vibrant circle of life nestled against a winding river. Teepees rise like sentinels, their hides painted with symbols of the sun and stars. Smoke curls from fires. Women weave baskets and children chase each other, their laughter bright against the quiet hum of the camp. Clara's breath catches. She's heard stories of the Lakota tales of warriors and raids, but this is something else, a community alive and breathing, rooted in the land. Swift Hawk guides the horse to the center of the camp, where curious eyes turn toward them. Clara feels their gazes, some wary, some intrigued. She's an outsider here, a pale figure in tattered settler clothes. Her presence? A question mark. Swift Hawk dismounts and helps her down, his hands gentle but firm. Her legs wobble, but she forces herself to stand, clutching the blanket Jacob gave her like a shield. The camp is a whirlwind of movement, men tending horses, women stirring pots over fires, elders watching from the shade of a teepee. Clara's heart races. She's never felt so out of place yet. There's a strange pull in her chest, a sense that she's stumbled into something bigger than herself. An older woman approaches her presence, commanding the attention of those around her. This is White Owl, a healer and storyteller, revered among the Oglala Lakota. Her hair is streaked with silver, her eyes sharp like the edge of a flint blade. She studies Clara, her gaze piercing but not unkind. "Swift Hawk," she says, her voice low and steady. Why have you brought this woman here? Swifthawk meets her eyes, his tone calm. The spirits led me to her. She was dying. Wuchakiye demands we help her. White Owl nods, but her expression remains guarded. She turns to Clara, her words accented but clear. Swifthawk saved you, but the spirits will decide if you stay. This is not your world. Can you live in it? Clara swallows her throat dry. The weight of White Owl's words settles over her like a heavy cloak. She's too weak to argue, too tired to plead, but deep inside a spark of defiance flickers. She's been cast aside before, left to die by those who called her their own. She won't let that happen again. I'll try, she says, her voice hoarse but firm. I'll prove I'm worth keeping. White Owl's lips twitch, not quite a smile, but there's a glint of respect in her eyes. She gestures toward a nearby teepee. Rest now. Tomorrow you work. Swifthawk leads Clara to a small teepee, its interior cool and dim. A buffalo hide blanket is spread on the ground, and a clay pot of water sits in the corner. Clara sinks onto the hide, her body aching with every movement. Swifthawk sets her canteen beside her, refilled with fresh water. Drink, he says simply, then turns to leave. Clara watches him go. His silhouette framed against the glowing light of the camp. She doesn't know why he saved her, doesn't know what he expects. But for the first time in days, she feels a flicker of hope, fragile but real. That night, Clara lies awake, the sounds of the camp weaving around her. The soft murmur of voices, the crackle of fires, the distant whinny of horses. It's a world so different from the one she's known. She thinks of the settlers of Jacob and the wagon train, now miles away. They thought she was nothing, a burden to be shed, but here, among the Lakota, she's been given a chance, a thread to hold on to. She clutches the blanket, her fingers tracing its rough edges. Tomorrow she'll face this new world. Tomorrow she'll begin to fight for her place in it. Morning comes with a burst of light, the sun spilling over the plains like molten gold. Clara wakes to the rhythm of the camp, already alive with purpose. Women carry baskets of roots. Men sharpen arrows, and children dart between teepees, their laughter a melody that lifts her spirits. She steps outside her legs, still shaky but steadier than yesterday. The air smells of smoke and leather, grounding her in this strange new reality. She's not sure where to begin, but White Owl finds her before she can wonder too long. Come, White Owl says, beckoning Clara toward a group of women by the river. They're washing hides, their hands moving with practiced ease. Clara hesitates, her fingers clumsy compared to theirs. She's sewn dresses and mended shirts, but this work is different, raw and tied to the land. White Owl hands her a hide still damp from the river. Scrape it clean. She instructs, her tone firm but patient. Clara nods, kneeling beside the others. The women glance at her, their expressions a mix of curiosity and skepticism. She's an outsider, a test they're not sure will pass. Clara grips the scraping tool, a flat piece of bone, and begins. Her movements are awkward, the hide slipping under her hands. One of the women, a young mother named Blue Sky, watches her struggle. Like this, Blue Sky says, demonstrating a smooth, steady motion. Clara mimics her, her strokes growing more confident. Blue Sky nods a small gesture of approval. It's not friendship, not yet, but it's a start. Clara feels a quiet pride, a sense that she's taking her first steps toward belonging. As the day unfolds, Clara learns the rhythm of the camp. She carries water from the river, her arms aching under the weight of the clay pots. She watches the women grind roots into flour, their hands quick and sure. White Owl teaches her the names of plants, chokecherry sage, wild turnip, and their uses for food and medicine. The land gives us everything, White Owl says, her voice rich with reverence, but we must respect it. Listen to it. That is Wochekie, to care for all that lives. Clara listens, absorbing the words like rain on parched earth. She spent her life taking from the land, never thinking to give back. Here it's different. Here everything is connected. Swifthawk appears at midday, leading a horse with a gentle gait. You need to learn this, he says, gesturing to the animal. Clara's eyes widen. She's ridden before, but only on slow wagon horses, never anything like this. The horse snorts its dark eyes, watching her. Swifthawk hands her the reins. She's called Little Wind. Trust her, and she'll trust you. Clara hesitates, then steps forward, her hand brushing the horse's flank. Little Wind stands still, sensing her uncertainty. Swifthawk shows her how to mount his instructions, clear and patient. Feel the earth through her, he says. She knows the plains better than you do. Clara climbs onto Little Wind, her heart pounding. The horse shifts beneath her, but Swifthawk's steady presence keeps her calm. He walks beside her, guiding the horse in a slow circle. Clara grips the reins, her body tense. But as Little Wind moves, she feels a connection, a pulse that links her to the animal, to the land. For the first time she senses the freedom of the plains, the way the Lakota move with it, not against it. Swifthawk watches her, his expression unreadable. "Good," he says simply, but there's a warmth in his voice that makes her chest tighten. The days blend into one another, each one a lesson in survival and belonging. Clara learns to recognize the calls of birds, to spot the tracks of antelope in the grass. She sits with White Owl at night, listening to stories of the Lakota's ancestors, of the buffalo that sustain them, of the stars that guide their way. The stories are more than tales. They're a map of the heart, a way to understand the world. Clara begins to see the Lakota, not as the savages the settlers feared, but as a people who live with purpose, who find strength in balance. Yet not everyone welcomes her. A warrior named Iron Bear, his face scarred from battles, watches her with suspicion. "She's a settler," he says to Swifthawk one evening, his voice carrying across the fire. "Her people bring death. Why keep her here, Swift?" Hawk's jaw tightens, but his response is calm. "The spirits brought her to us. We don't turn away what they offer." Iron Bear scoffs, his eyes narrowing as he looks at Clara. She feels the weight of his distrust, a reminder that her place here is not yet secure. Clara lies awake that night, Iron Bear's words echoing in her mind. She's not one of them, not fully. Her hands are still too soft, her steps too uncertain, but she's not the woman she was either, the one who let the settlers cast her aside. She thinks of White Owl's words of the spirits deciding her fate. If she's to stay, she'll have to earn it, not just with work, but with her heart. She closes her eyes, the sounds of the camp lulling her into a restless sleep. Tomorrow she'll try harder. Tomorrow she'll show them who she can be. As Clara's time in the camp grows, so does her strength. She wakes each morning with a purpose, a fire kindled by the chance to prove herself. The women begin to nod as she passes, their skepticism softening into acceptance. Blue Sky shares a piece of dried meat with her one afternoon, a small act that feels like a bridge. Even the children, once shy, now tug at her skirt, asking her to join their games. Clara laughs, a sound she hasn't heard from herself in years. It's not home, not yet, but it's something close, something worth fighting for. Swifthawk watches her progress, his presence a quiet constant. He doesn't speak much, but his actions say enough. He brings her a pair of moccasins, their leather soft and sturdy, made by his sister. "Your boots won't last here," he says, handing them to her. Clara slips them on, marveling at their fit. They're a gift, but also a sign she's being woven into the fabric of the camp, one thread at a time. She meets his gaze, searching for answers. "Why do you help me?" she asks. Swifthawk shrugs, a faint smile tugging at his lips. The spirits don't always explain themselves. Clara's days are filled with learning, her nights with reflection. She thinks of the settlers, of the life she left behind. It feels distant now, like a story told by someone else. The Lakota have given her more than survival. They've given her a chance to rebuild, to become someone new. But the question lingers heavy as the night sky. Can she truly belong here, or will her past pull her back? The plains hold their secrets close, but Clara is determined to uncover them one step at a time. The sun climbs high over the Lakota camp, its warmth soaking into the earth. Clara Hensley steps out of her teepee. her moccasins whispering against the grass. Weeks have passed since Swift Hawk carried her here, a broken woman on the edge of death. Now her steps are steadier, her eyes brighter, though she's still a stranger in this vibrant world. The camp pulses with life. Women pound roots into flour. Men carve arrows. Children dart between teepees, their laughter a melody that lifts the air. Clara breathes in the scent of smoke and sage, feeling a spark of purpose. She's not one of them yet, but she's determined to earn her place, one task at a time. White Owl, the camp's healer and storyteller, has taken Clara under her wing. The elder moves with a quiet grace, her silver hair catching the light, her hands worn from years of work. She sees something in Clara, a resilience buried beneath grief. You have a heart that fights. White Owl says, handing Clara a deer, hide its surface, rough and heavy, but you must learn our ways to stay. Clara nods, her fingers tracing the hide's edges. She's sewn dresses and quilts in her old life, but this is different. This is raw, tied to the animals, to the land itself. She grips a bone scraper, her hands unsure but willing. Kneeling by the river, Clara begins her strokes, clumsy at first. The hide slips the scraper, catching unevenly. Sweat beads on her brow as she struggles, aware of the women watching nearby. Blue sky. A young mother with kind eyes works beside her, her hands swift and sure. Press harder. Blue sky, says her voice soft but firm. Let the hide guide you. Clara adjusts her grip, mimicking Blue sky's smooth rhythm. Her arms ache, but she pushes through, determined to get it right. When she finishes, the hide is smoother, not perfect, but a start. Blue sky nods, a small gesture that feels like a victory. Clara's chest swells with quiet pride. She's learning step by step. White Owl teaches her more than just hide work. One morning, by a crackling fire, she shows Clara how to make pemmican, a blend of dried meat, fat, and berries. This keeps us strong when the snow falls. White Owl explains, her hands pounding buffalo meat into a fine powder. Clara tries her movements, slow and awkward. The berries burst under her fingers, staining them red, and she laughs, the sound surprising her. White Owl's stern face softens, a rare smile tugging at her lips. The land provides, she says. We honor it by wasting nothing. Clara nods, the lesson sinking in. The Lakota live with the earth, not against it, a balance she's never known but wants to understand. Swift Hawk watches her progress, his presence a steady anchor. He's a man of few words, his dark eyes holding stories he rarely shares. One afternoon he approaches with Little Wind, the gentle horse Clara has come to trust. You're ready, he says, handing her the reins. Ride alone. Clara's stomach twists. She's ridden with Swift Hawk's guidance, but alone feels different, like stepping into the unknown. Little Wind snorts, her dark eyes calm. Trust her, Swift Hawk says. She knows the way. Clara takes a deep breath, her hands steady as she mounts the leather saddle creaking under her. She nudges Little Wind forward, her body tense at first. The plains stretch out golden and vast, the wind tugging at her hair. Little Wind moves with a smooth gait, and Clara relaxes, feeling the horse's rhythm. The world opens around her, the horizon endless, the sky a canvas of blue. For the first time she feels free, not just from her past, but within herself. Swift Hawk rides a short distance away, his silence a quiet encouragement. Good, he calls, his voice warm. Clara smiles, her heart soaring. Riding is more than skill, it's independence, a connection to the land, to the Lakota way. Back at camp, Clara joins the women in other tasks. She learns to weave reeds into baskets. Her fingers fumbling at first, Little Sparrow, a girl of 10 with bright eyes, giggles at her tangled attempts, but shows her how to twist the reeds tightly. Like this, Little Sparrow says, her small hands. Quick. Clara laughs, her mistakes becoming lessons. The children are warming to her, their curiosity. A bridge across worlds, they ask about her life before their questions, simple but eager. Did you have horses? Little Sparrow asks. Clara nods, describing her husband's old mare, the memory softer now. The children listen, their faces rapt, and Clara feels a connection growing fragile but real. White Owl shares the Lakota's wisdom by the river, her voice steady as the waters flow. Mitakuye oyas inji. She says, her eyes on the horizon. All are related. The buffalo, the trees, the stars, you, we are one. Clara listens, her heart stirring. The settlers she knew saw the land as something to conquer, to claim the Lakota, see it as family, a circle of life that holds them all. The idea shifts something in Clara, a new way of seeing. She's not just learning tasks, she's learning to belong, to see the world as whole. The campfire becomes her favorite place, a nightly ritual where stories bind the camp. White Owl tells tales of ancestors of warriors who rode with the wind of spirits who guard the plains. The stories are alive, weaving the past into the present. One night, blue sky turns to Clara, her smile warm. "Tell us a story," she says. Clara hesitates, her cheeks flushing. She's no storyteller, not like White Owl, but the firelight is kind. The faces around her open. She takes a breath, her voice soft. "When I was a girl," she begins, "my mother baked bread every Sunday. The smell filled our house, warm and sweet. We'd sit together and she'd sing songs about the sea." Her voice wavers the memory, sharp with longing. She describes the songs the way her mother's voice rose and fell like waves. The Lakota listen, their silence, a gift. Little Sparrow leans closer, her eyes wide. When Clara finishes, White Owl speaks her words gentle. "Stories are how we understand each other's hearts." "Thank you." Clara's throat tightens. She's shared a piece of herself, and they've accepted it. The moment is a bridge linking her world to theirs. She's not just learning, she's becoming part of their story. But not everyone trusts her. Iron Bear, a warrior scarred by battles and loss, watches her with suspicion. His family was taken by settlers years ago, and Clara's presence stirs old wounds. One evening by the horse corral, he confronts Swift Hawk, his voice sharp. "She'll bring trouble." Iron Bear says, glancing at Clara as she carries water, "Her people always do. Why keep her?" Swift Hawk's jaw tightens, but his response is calm. The spirits brought her. She's earning her place. Iron Bear scoffs his distrust, a heavy shadow. Clara overhears, her heart sinking. She's working hard, but is it enough? The tension grows a knot that tightens with each passing day. Clara feels Iron Bear's eyes on her, his doubt, a challenge she can't ignore. She doubles her efforts, rising before dawn to gather wood, staying late, to help with meals. The women notice their nods becoming warmer. Blue Sky shares a piece of pemmican one afternoon, a small act that feels like trust. Even the children sense her resolve, tugging her into their games. Clara laughs, her heart lighter, but Iron Bear's distrust lingers, a question that haunts her. Will she ever be fully accepted, or will she always be an outsider? Swift Hawk sees her struggle, his quiet support, a constant. One morning, he brings her a small knife, its bone handle carved with a simple design. "For you," he says. The plains are not always kind. Clara takes it, the weight grounding her. It's a gift, but also a reminder she must be strong, not just for herself, but for the camp. She meets his gaze, her voice soft. "Why do you believe in me?" Swift Hawk shrugs, a faint smile on his lips. The spirits don't make mistakes. Clara's days are filled with work, her nights with reflection. She thinks of the settlers, of the life she left behind. It feels like a dream now, distant and faded. The Lakota have given her more than survival. They've given her a chance to rebuild, but the knot remains, a question that lingers in the starlit sky. Can she truly belong, or will Iron Bear's fears come true? The plains hold their secrets, but Clara is ready to face them one day at a time. The sun climbs high over the Lakota camp, its warmth soaking into the earth. Clara Hensley steps out of her teepee, her moccasins whispering against the grass. Weeks have passed since Swifthawk carried her here, a broken woman on the edge of death. Now her steps are steadier, her eyes brighter, though she's still a stranger in this vibrant world. The camp pulses with life. Women pound roots into flour. Men carve arrows. Children dart between teepees. Their laughter a melody that lifts the air. Clara breathes in the scent of smoke and sage, feeling a spark of purpose. She's not one of them yet, but she's determined to earn her place, one task at a time. White Owl, the camp's healer and storyteller, has taken Clara under her wing. The elder moves with a quiet grace, her silver hair catching the light, her hands worn from years of work. She sees something in Clara, a resilience buried beneath grief. You have a heart that fights. White Owl says, handing Clara a deer, hide its surface, rough and heavy. But you must learn our ways to stay. Clara nods, her fingers tracing the hide's edges. She's sewn dresses and quilts in her old life, but this is different. This is raw, tied to the animals, to the land itself. She grips a bone scraper, her hands unsure but willing. Kneeling by the river, Clara begins her strokes, clumsy at first. The hide slips the scraper, catching unevenly. Sweat beads on her brow as she struggles, aware of the women watching nearby. Blue sky. A young mother with kind eyes works beside her, her hands swift and sure. Press harder. Blue sky says, her voice soft but firm, let the hide guide you. Clara adjusts her grip, mimicking Blue sky's rhythm. Her arms ache, but she pushes through, determined to get it right. When she finishes, the hide is smoother, not perfect, but a start. Blue sky nods, a small gesture that feels like a victory. Clara's chest swells with quiet pride. She's learning step by step. White Owl teaches her more than just hide work. One morning, by a crackling fire, she shows Clara how to make pemmican, a blend of dried meat, fat, and berries. This keeps us strong when the snow falls. White Owl explains, her hands pounding buffalo meat into a fine powder. Clara tries her movements, slow and awkward. The berries burst under her fingers, staining them red, and she laughs, the sound surprising her. White Owl's stern face softens, a rare smile tugging at her lips. The land provides, she says. We honor it by wasting nothing. Clara nods, the lesson sinking in. The Lakota live with the earth, not against it, a balance she's never known but wants to understand. Swifthawk watches her progress, his presence a steady anchor. He's a man of few words, his dark eyes holding stories he rarely shares. One afternoon he approaches with Little Wind, the gentle horse Clara has come to trust. You're ready, he says, handing her the rein. Ride alone. Clara's stomach twists. She's ridden with Swifthawk's guidance, but alone feels different, like stepping into the unknown. Little Wind snorts, her dark eyes calm. Trust her, Swifthawk says. She knows the way. Clara takes a deep breath, her hands steady as she mounts the leather saddle, creaking under her. She nudges Little Wind forward, her body tense at first. The plains stretch out golden and vast, the wind tugging at her hair. Little Wind moves with a smooth gait, and Clara relaxes, feeling the horse's rhythm. The world opens around her, the horizon endless, the sky a canvas of blue. For the first time, she feels free, not just from her past, but within herself. Swifthawk rides a short distance away, his silence a quiet encouragement. Good, he calls, his voice warm. Clara smiles, her heart soaring. Riding is more than skill, it's independence, a connection to the land, to the Lakota way. Back at camp, Clara joins the women in other tasks. She learns to weave reeds into baskets, her fingers fumbling at first. Little Sparrow, a girl of 10 with bright eyes, giggles at her tangled attempts, but shows her how to twist the reeds tightly. Like this, Little Sparrow says, her small hands. Quick! Clara laughs, her mistakes becoming lessons. The children are warming to her, their curiosity, a bridge across worlds. They ask about her life before their questions, simple but eager. Did you have horses? Little Sparrow asks. Clara nods, describing her husband's old mare, the memory softer now. The children listen, their faces rapt, and Clara feels a connection growing, fragile but real. White Owl shares the Lakota's wisdom by the river, her voice steady as the waters flow. Mitakuye oyasin ai, she says, her eyes on the horizon. All are related. The buffalo, the trees, the stars, we are one. Clara listens, her heart stirring. The settlers she knew saw the land as something to conquer, to claim the Lakota, see it as family, a circle of life that holds them all. The idea shifts something in Clara, a new way of seeing. She's not just learning tasks, she's learning to belong, to see the world as whole. The campfire becomes her favorite place, a nightly ritual where stories bind the camp. White Owl tells tales of ancestors of warriors who rode with the wind of spirits who guard the plains. The stories are alive, weaving the past into the present. One night, Blue Sky turns to Clara, her smile warm. Tell us a story, she says. Clara hesitates, her cheeks flushing. She's no storyteller, not like White Owl. But the firelight is kind. The faces around her open. She takes a breath, her voice soft. When I was a girl, she begins, my mother baked bread every Sunday. The smell filled our house, warm and sweet. We'd sit together, and she'd sing songs about the sea. Her voice wavers, the memory, sharp with longing. She describes the songs, the way her mother's voice rose and fell like waves. The Lakota, listen their silence, a gift. Little Sparrow leans closer, her eyes wide. When Clara finishes, White Owl speaks her words gentle. Stories are how we understand each other's hearts. Thank you. Clara's throat tightens. She's shared a piece of herself, and they've accepted it. The moment is a bridge, linking her world to theirs. She's not just learning, she's becoming part of their story. But not everyone trusts her. Iron Bear, a warrior scarred by battles and loss, watches her with suspicion. His family was taken by settlers years ago, and Clara's presence stirs old wounds. One evening, by the horse corral, he confronts Swift Hawk, his voice sharp. She'll bring trouble, Iron Bear says, glancing at Clara as she carries water. Her people always do. Why keep her? Swift Hawk's jaw tightens, but his response is calm. The spirits brought her. She's earning her place. Iron Bear scoffs his distrust, a heavy shadow. Clara overhears, her heart sinking. She's working hard, but is it enough? The tension grows a knot that tightens with each passing day. Clara feels Iron Bear's eyes on her, his doubt, a challenge she can't ignore. She doubles her efforts, rising before dawn to gather wood, staying late to help with meals. The women notice their nods becoming warmer. Blue Sky shares a piece of pemmican one afternoon, a small act that feels like trust. Even the children sense her resolve, tugging her into their games. Clara laughs, her heart lighter, but Iron Bear's distrust lingers, a question that haunts her. Will she ever be fully accepted, or will she always be an outsider? Swift Hawk sees her struggle, his quiet support a constant. One morning he brings her a small knife, its bone handle carved with a simple design. For you, he says. The plains are not always kind. Clara takes it, the weight grounding her. It's a gift, but also a reminder. She must be strong, not just for herself, but for the camp. She meets his gaze, her voice soft. Why do you believe in me? Swift Hawk shrugs, a faint smile on his lips. The spirits don't make mistakes. Clara's days are filled with work, her nights with reflection. She thinks of the settlers, of the life she left behind. It feels like a dream, now distant and faded. The Lakota have given her more than survival. They've given her a chance to rebuild, but the knot remains a question that lingers in the starlit sky. Can she truly belong, or will Iron Bear's fears come true? The plains hold their secrets, but Clara is ready to face them one day at a time. The Lakota camp hums with the rhythm of a quiet afternoon, the air thick with the scent of sage and earth. Clara Hensley kneels by the river, her hands steady as she washes a hide, her moccasins sinking into the soft bank. She's grown stronger in the weeks since Swifthawk saved her, her body and spirit finding balance in the Lakota ways. The camp feels like a heartbeat, each person a part of its pulse. Women weaving, children laughing, warriors sharpening arrows. But today, that heartbeat falters. A horse whinnies sharply, its ears flicking back. Clara pauses, her hands still sensing a shift in the air. Something is coming, and it's not the wind. Swifthawk appears at the edge of the camp, his posture tense, his eyes scanning the horizon. He moves with the grace of a hawk, silent but alert, his bow slung across his back. Clara watches him, her heart quickening. She's learned to trust the signs here, the restlessness of horses, the sudden hush of the camp. White Owl steps out of her teepee, her silver hair catching the sunlight, her face etched with concern. "Trouble," she murmurs, her voice low but clear. Clara rises, wiping her hands on her skirt, the hide forgotten. The camp grows still, every eye turning toward the tree line where shadows begin to move. Hooves thud against the earth, a steady drumbeat growing louder. Clara's breath catches as figures emerge from the trees, men on horseback, their faces hard, their rifles glinting in the sun. Settlers, at their head rides Jacob Morrow, the man who left her to die months ago. His eyes are sharp, his jaw set, a mix of determination and unease on his weathered face. Clara freezes, her past crashing into her present like a storm. She thought she'd left that world behind, but here it is, demanding to be faced. The settlers halt a short distance from the camp, their horses snorting, their hands resting on their rifles. Jacob scans the teepees, his gaze landing on Clara. His eyes widen, a flicker of disbelief crossing his face. "Clara." "Hensley." He calls, his voice carrying across the open ground. "We thought you were dead." Clara steps forward, her legs steady despite the pounding in her chest. She's not the frail woman he abandoned. Not anymore. "I'm alive," she says, her voice clear. "No thanks to you." Jacob shifts in his saddle, his expression tightening. "We've heard stories," he says. "They say the Lakota took you, made you a captive. We're here to bring you back." The words hang heavy, a challenge wrapped in concern. Clara's hands curl into fists at her sides. Back to what? Can't help but feel a surge of anger, hot and sharp. "I wasn't taken," she says, her voice rising. "You left me to die." "Jacob, the Lakota saved me. This is my home now." The settlers murmur, their faces a mix of shock and doubt. Jacob's mouth presses into a thin line, his hand drifting toward his rifle. Swifthawk steps forward, his presence commanding the space between the two groups. His bow is in his hand, unstrung but ready, his eyes locked on Jacob. "She is one of us," he says, his voice steady, cutting through the tension like a blade. "Harm her, and you harm the Lakota." His words are a vow, a line drawn in the earth. The camp stirs, warriors moving to stand beside him, their bows drawn, arrows notched. The air crackles with the promise of violence, each side poised on the edge of a fight neither wants but neither can avoid. Clara stands in the middle, caught between two worlds. The settlers see her as one of their own, a woman stolen and broken. The Lakota see her as a risk, a bridge to a world that brings death. Iron Bear the warrior who distrusts her steps forward. His scarred face twisted with anger. "This is her fault," he growls, pointing at Clara. "Her people come to take her, and we'll pay the price. Send her away, Swifthawk, before blood is spilled." His words sting, but Clara holds her ground, her eyes meeting his. "I'm not leaving," she says, her voice firm. "I've chosen this life." Jacob raises a hand, his voice sharp. "We didn't come to fight," he says, though his rifle says otherwise. "We came for Clara. Give her to us, and we'll leave in peace." His men shift their fingers, twitching near their triggers. Clara's heart races. She knows Jacob knows his pride won't let him back down easily, but she also knows the Lakota knows their strength, their resolve. A single spark could set this camp ablaze, and she's the tinder. White Owl moves to Clara's side, her presence a quiet force. This is not the way she says, her voice calm, but commanding. Wa'ohola. Respect is what binds us. Respect the land. Respect each other. We are all part of the same circle. Her words carry the weight of years of stories told by firelight. Of a people who have survived by understanding balance. Jacob scoffs, but his men hesitate, her words touching something deep within them. Clara seizes the moment, stepping forward, her voice rising. You left me, Jacob. You thought I was nothing, but I've found a home here, a family. If you fight, you'll destroy that. Is that what you want? The settlers exchange glances, their resolve wavering. Jacob's face hardens, but there's a flicker of doubt in his eyes. You're not one of them, Clara, he says. You're a settler like us. You belong with your own kind. Clara shakes her head, her voice steady. I belong where I'm wanted, where I'm needed. The Lakota gave me that. Can you say the same? Her words cut deep, and Jacob flinches. The truth of her abandonment, a wound he can't ignore. Iron Bear's voice breaks the silence, his anger boiling over. Enough talk, he snaps, raising his bow. If they want her, let them take her. Or let them die. Swift Hawk moves to block him, his hand on Iron Bear's arm. No, he says. His voice low but firm. Clara has earned her place. We fight for our own. The warriors murmur, some nodding, others uncertain. Clara's chest tightens. She's the cause of this divide, and the thought of blood being spilled because of her is unbearable. The standoff stretches each side, waiting for the other to move. Clara's mind races, searching for a way to stop this before it begins. She thinks of White Owl's stories, of the Lakota's belief in Mitakuye, Oyas, Njii, all are related. If she can make them see that, maybe she can stop the fighting. Listen to me, she says, her voice ringing out. We're not so different. You want to protect your families, your way of life. So do the Lakota. We're all trying to survive. But fighting won't save anyone. It'll only break us apart. Jacob's eyes narrow, but he doesn't interrupt. Clara continues, her voice trembling, but strong. I was one of you once. I know your fears, your hopes, but I've learned something here. The Lakota don't take more than they need. They honor the land, the animals, each other. They've shown me what it means to live, not just survive. We can learn from them. Jacob, we can be better. Her words hang in the air, a plea for understanding, for peace. The settlers shift their rifles, lowering slightly. One man, younger than the others, speaks up. She's right, he says, his voice hesitant. We've lost too much already. I don't want to lose more. Jacob glares at him, but the man doesn't back down. Others nod, their faces softening. Clara's heart lifts a glimmer of hope, breaking through the tension, but Iron Bear's anger hasn't faded. You trust them, he demands, turning to Swift Hawk, after all they've done to us. Swift Hawk meets his gaze, his voice steady. I trust Clara. She's shown her heart. That's enough. Iron Bear's jaw tightens, but he lowers his bow, his silence, a grudging acceptance. Clara exhales relief, flooding her. The Lakota are standing with her, but the settlers are still a threat. She turns to Jacob, her voice soft but firm. Go home, Jacob. Let me live the life I've chosen. Don't make this a war. Jacob's face is a storm of emotions. Pride, guilt, uncertainty. He looks at Clara, really looks at her, and sees the woman she's become. Not the frail widow he left behind, but someone strong, someone who belongs. You're sure? He asks, his voice quieter now. Clara nods, her eyes unwavering. I've never been surer. Jacob hesitates, then raises a hand, signaling his men to stand down. We'll go, he says, his voice heavy, but this isn't over. Clara, others might come. The settlers turn their horses, their figures shrinking as they ride back toward the trees. The Lakota watch in silence, their bows still ready but unneeded. Clara's legs tremble, but she stands tall. Swift Hawk and White Owl at her side. Iron Bear stalks away, his distrust lingering, but for now, the camp is safe. Clara's heart aches with the weight of what's happened. She's prevented a fight, but at what cost? Has she proven her loyalty to the Lakota, or has she only delayed the inevitable? The Plains hold their secrets, and Clara knows this is only the beginning. As the camp settles, Clara feels the eyes of the Lakota on her. Some nod, their respect hard-earned. Others, like Iron Bear, keep their distance. Their doubts, a shadow over her place here. Swift Hawk touches her arm, his voice low. "You spoke with courage," he says. "That matters." Clara meets his gaze, gratitude swelling in her chest. She's not fully accepted, not yet, but she's closer than she was. The knot of tension remains a question that lingers in the air. Can she truly bridge these worlds, or will her presence tear them apart? The Lakota camp stands on the brink of chaos, the air thick with the weight of unspoken threats. Clara Hensley stands between two worlds, her heart pounding as settlers and Lakota face each other, their weapons drawn, their eyes hard. Jacob Morrow, the settler leader, grips his rifle, his men poised behind him. Swift Hawk and the Lakota warriors hold their bows ready, arrows notch their silence. A storm waiting to break. Iron Bear's anger burns like a fire, his distrust of Clara fueling his call for a fight. But Clara knows bloodshed will solve nothing. She steps forward, her voice cutting through the tension. "Enough," she says, her words sharp and clear. "No one dies today. We talk, we listen, we find a way." Her words hang in the air, a daring plea in a moment teetering on violence. Jacob's eyes narrow, but he doesn't move. Swift Hawk lowers his bow slightly, his gaze flickering to Clara, a silent trust in her courage. White Owl. The Lakota elder nods, her silver hair glowing in the fading light, a counsel. White Owl says, her voice steady, "Let both sides speak. That is the way of Wowachi." Thenji Ka, patience and understanding. The Lakota murmur, some skeptical, but Swift Hawk's support sways them. Jacob hesitates, then raises a hand signaling his men to stand down. "We'll talk," he says, his voice grudging, "but I'm not leaving without her." The camp transforms as the council is prepared. A pyre is built at the center, its flames casting a warm glow over the gathered faces. Teepees form a circle, their shadows dancing on the ground. The Lakota sit on one side, their warriors and elders, a wall of quiet strength. The settlers sit opposite their rifles, resting on their knees, their expressions wary. Clara stands in the middle, her hands trembling, but her resolve unshaken. She's no leader, no warrior, but tonight she's the bridge between these worlds. The fire crackles, and the council begins. White Owl speaks first, her voice weaving a story like a river flowing through the camp. "Long ago," she says, "our people faced a great divide. Two bands, kin by blood, turned against each other over a hunting ground. Blood was ready to spill, but an elder called a council. They shared stories, not weapons, and found they were not enemies, but family. Mitakuye Oyasi, Indu all are related. That is our way." Her words settle over the crowd, softening the edges of their anger. The settlers listen, some nodding, others still guarded. Clara feels the power of the story, its truth sinking into her bones. Swift Hawk rises his presence. Commanding. "Clara came to us dying," he says, his voice steady. "We could have left her, but Wochekiye. Compassion guided us. She has worked, learned, shared our fire. She is Lakota now. We protect our own." His words are a vow, and the Lakota nod. Their faces proud. Iron Bear shifts his jaw tight, but he doesn't speak. Clara's chest tightens. Swift Hawk's trust in her is a gift, but it's also a challenge. She must prove she's worth it, not just to the Lakota, but to herself. Jacob stands, his voice rough. "She's one of us," he says, pointing at Clara, "a settler born and raised. You've turned her against her own kind. She belongs with us, where she's safe." His men murmur agreement, their hands tightening on their rifles. Clara's anger flares, but she holds it in check. She steps into the firelight, her voice rising. "Safe," she says, her eyes locked on Jacob. "You left me to die, Jacob. You called me a burden, tossed me aside like nothing. The Lakota gave me a home, a purpose. They didn't turn me against you. You did that yourself." The settlers shift some. Looking away, guilt flickering in their eyes, Clara continues, her voice trembling but strong. "I was a widow alone, with nothing but memories. You saw me as weak, but the Lakota saw me as human. They taught me to work, to ride, to live with the land. They shared their stories, their food, their lives. I'm not your captive, Jacob. I'm free here, freer than I ever was with you." Her words ripple through the crowd, touching hearts on both sides. The young settler who spoke earlier nods, his face soft with understanding. White Owl rises again, her eyes bright. "Clara speaks truth," she says, "but truth is not enough. We must see each other not as enemies, but as kin. Let me tell you of the buffalo. They run together strong because they are one. When one falls, the herd lifts it up. We are like them, all of us. Settler Lakota. We share this land. Fight, and we all fall. Stand together, and we rise." Her story weaves a vision of unity, its simplicity piercing the divide. The settlers listen, their rifles forgotten for a moment. Even Jacob's face softens his pride, giving way to something deeper. Clara feels the moment shift of fragile hope taking root. She steps closer to Jacob, her voice soft but firm. "I don't want to fight," she says. "I want peace for you. For the Lakota. For me. You're not my enemy, Jacob. But I'm not the woman you left behind. I've changed, and I'm staying where I belong." She reaches into her pocket, pulling out a small tarnished ring, her wedding band, a relic of her old life. She holds it out, her hand steady. "This belongs to the woman I was," she says. "I'm someone else now." Jacob stares at the ring, his eyes wide. Slowly, he takes it, his fingers closing around the metal. The gesture is a surrender, not of defeat but of understanding. The settlers murmur their voices, a mix of awe and acceptance. The young settler speaks again. "Let her stay," he says. "She's found her place. We've got no right to take it from her." Others nod, their faces weary but open. Jacob looks at Clara, his expression a storm of emotions. Guilt, respect, regret. "You've made your choice," he says, his voice low. "We'll go. But others might come, Clara. This land's changing, and not for the better." His warning hangs heavy, a shadow of future conflicts, but for now, peace holds. Jacob turns to his men, nodding. They mount their horses, their rifles slung over their shoulders. The Lakota watch in silence, their bows lowered, their faces calm. As the settlers ride away, the camp exhales, the tension melting into the firelight. Clara's legs tremble, but she stands tall, Swift Hawk and White Owl at her side. She's done it. She's stopped a fight, bridged a divide, but the Lakota's acceptance is not yet complete. Iron Bear steps forward, his scarred face unreadable. Clara braces herself, expecting his anger. Instead, Iron Bear reaches into a pouch at his waist, pulling out a beaded necklace, its colors vibrant in the firelight. "You spoke with courage," he says, his voice gruff but sincere. "You stood for us. That is enough." He hands her the necklace, its weight a symbol of trust. Clara's throat tightens as she takes it, her fingers tracing the beads. The Lakota cheer, their voices rising like a song. Blue sky hugs her. Little Sparrow claps, and White Owl's eyes shine with pride. Swift Hawk nods, a faint smile on his lips. Clara slips the necklace over her head, its beads resting against her heart. She's not just a guest anymore. She's family. The fire burns low as the council ends, the camp settling into a quiet celebration. Clara sits by the flames, the necklace a comforting weight. She thinks of the woman she was, the widow who thought her story was over. That woman is gone, replaced by someone stronger, someone who belongs. The Lakota have taught her more than survival. They've taught her the power of patience, of understanding, of seeing the world as one. Vachai, Taidi, and Jika, the Lakota value of patience, has guided this night, turning enemies into listeners, conflict into peace. But Jacob's warning lingers, a reminder that the world beyond the camp is restless. Clara knows peace is fragile, that others may come with rifles and demands. Yet as she looks at the faces around her, Swift Hawk's quiet strength, White Owl's wisdom, Blue Sky's warmth, she feels ready. The Lakota have given her a home, and she'll fight to protect it, not with weapons, but with the lessons she's learned. The fire flickers, casting shadows that dance like spirits. Clara smiles, her heart full. She's found her place, and no one can take that away. The stars shine bright above the plains, a map of stories yet to be told. Clara's journey is far from over, but tonight she's won a victory, not just for herself, but for the Lakota, for the hope of a world where understanding triumphs over fear. The camp sleeps, its heartbeat steady, and Clara knows she's exactly where she's meant to be. The sun dips low over the Great Plains, painting the sky in hues of orange and purple. The Lakota camp is alive with the quiet rhythm of life. Children chase each other between teepees, their laughter blending with the soft rustle of grass. Women weave baskets by the fire, their hands steady and sure. Warriors tend to horses, their voices low and warm. In the heart of it all sits Clara Hensley, now known as Dawn Weaver, a name given by the Lakota for her skill in crafting and the hope she carries like a light. Months have passed since the council, since the day Clara stood between two worlds and chose her own. Her hands, once soft from sewing, settler dresses, are now strong, calloused from tanning hides and weaving reeds. She sits by a tipi, her fingers deftly twisting fibers into a basket, its pattern a dance of earth and sky. Little Sparrow, the young girl who once giggled at her mistakes, sits beside her, mimicking her movements. Clara smiles, her heart full. This is her home now, not just a place, but a family. The Lakota have embraced her, their generosity, a gift she never expected. Blue Sky shares meals with her, their conversations filled with laughter. White Owl teaches her the sacred songs of the Lakota, her voice a thread connecting past and present. Even Iron Bear, once her fiercest critic, nods when she passes his respect, hard-earned but true. Clara now. Dawn Weaver is no longer an outsider. She's woven into the fabric of the camp, her story, one of many that bind this community together. On this evening, as the stars begin to spark in the sky, Clara walks to the river that winds near the camp. The water glitters, reflecting the fading light. Swift Hawk joins her, his steps silent, his presence as steady as the earth. He's been her guide, her protector, her friend. They sit by the riverbank, the world quiet around them. Swift Hawk looks at her, his dark eyes warm. "The spirits knew you belonged here," he says, his voice soft but certain. Clara smiles, her fingers brushing the beaded necklace Iron Bear gave her. "I think they did," she replies, her voice steady. "I've found more than a home, I found myself." The moment is simple, but it carries the weight of her journey. Clara thinks of the woman she was, the widow left to die. Her life measured in losses. That woman is gone, replaced by Dawn Weaver, a woman who rides with the wind, weaves with the earth, lives with the Lakota's wisdom. The Lakota have taught her Mitakuye Oyasi, Inji. All are related. a truth that binds her to the land, the people, the stars above. She's learned to live in harmony, to honor the balance that sustains life. It's a lesson she carries in her heart, a gift she'll never forget. But the peace she's found is fragile. Jacob's warning echoes in her mind, a reminder that the world beyond the camp is restless. Settlers move closer each day, their hunger for land a shadow over the plains. Clara prays for peace, for a way for the Lakota and settlers to coexist. She knows it won't be easy, that the future holds challenges she can't yet see. But she's not afraid. With the Lakota by her side, she's ready to face whatever comes to protect the home she's found. The river flows on its song, a promise of continuity. Clara looks at Swift Hawk at the camp glowing in the distance, at the stars lighting the sky. This is her place, her purpose. She's not just surviving, she's thriving, rooted in a community that chose her as she chose them. The Lakota's wisdom, their belief in connection and understanding, shines through her, a beacon for others to follow. As the firelight fades, Clara rises, Swift Hawk at her side. They walk back to the camp, their steps in sync with the heartbeat of the plains. The children's laughter greets them, a sound of hope that carries into the night. Clara now, Dawn Weaver knows her story is just one thread in the Lakota's tapestry, but it's a thread that matters. She's found a family, a home, a life worth living. The camera pulls back the camp, a warm glow against the vast darkness. The starry sky stretches overhead, each light a story, a dream, a promise. Clara Hensley was abandoned, but Dawn Weaver was reborn. In the heart of the Lakota, she learned that home is not a place. It's the people who choose you. What did Clara's journey teach you about finding home? Share your thoughts below. And don't forget to like and subscribe for more stories that touch the heart. Let's keep exploring the wisdom of the past together.